Imagine you are standing in the middle of the Ruhr Valley, the beating heart of European industry. For over a century, the air here vibrated with the low hum of blast furnaces, the hiss of steam, and the rhythmic clanging of steel. It was the sound of money. It was the sound of a made-in-Germany Mercedes rolling off the line every few minutes. But now, listen, it is getting quiet. Too quiet. The year is 2025. The furnaces are cooling down. The lights in the chemical plants are flickering off. And the economic engine that carried the entire European Union on its back is sputtering, coughing, and threatening to stall completely. We aren't just talking about a recession here. Recessions are like the flu. You get sick, you rest, you get better. No. What is happening to Germany right now is more like chronic organ failure. It is a slow-motion industrial suicide driven by 20 years of arrogance, cheap Russian gas, and a refusal to acknowledge that the world has changed. We are going to dissect the corpse. We are going to look at how the world's third-largest economy decided to dismantle itself piece by piece. From the addiction to pipelines that no longer exist to the arrogance of car executives who laughed at Elon Musk. This is the story of how Germany broke its own machine. Let's start with the addiction to the needle, the Russian roulette. For the last 2 decades, the German economic miracle was essentially a magic trick. You take high-end engineering, pay a skilled workforce decent wages, and power the whole thing with energy that is dirt cheap, like suspiciously cheap. Germany decided to hook its veins directly into the Russian gas reserves. The logic was simple. If we buy their gas, they won't attack us, and our factories will print money. Look at the BASF chemical complex. It is the largest in the world, basically a city that consumes as much natural gas annually as all of Switzerland. For years, they were the envy of the world. They printed profit because the gas tap from Siberia was wide open. German politicians were warned. The Poles warned them. The Ukrainians warned them. Donald Trump warned them at the UN in 2018, and the German delegation was caught on camera laughing. Well, nobody is laughing now. When Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine in 2022, he didn't just send tanks. He turned off the life support system for German heavy industry. Suddenly, electricity prices shot up like a volatile crypto coin, increasing 20 times over. Imagine you own an aluminum smelter. Aluminum is basically solid electricity. If your bill goes up 20x, you don't have a bad quarter. You close the doors. And then, the Nord Stream pipelines were blown up. Boom. The needle broke off in the arm. Now, the fundamental business model of German industry, import cheap energy, export expensive machines, is dead. It is gone. BASF is now building a $10 billion complex in China. They are packing up the crown jewels and leaving. But if gas was the blood, the car was the soul, and the soul is dying. The car isn't just a product in Germany, it is a religion. Volkswagen, Mercedes, BMW. But here is the problem with being a master of the internal combustion engine. You get arrogant. When Tesla started making noise, German executives laughed. They literally laughed. They said electric cars were toys. Real men drive diesel. They were suffering from the Kodak moment. While Mercedes was squeezing another 5 horsepower out of a V8 engine, China was busy cornering the market on the only thing that matters: batteries. An EV is a battery, a motor, and software. Germany is terrible at software. Fast forward to today. The BYD Seagull, a Chinese EV, sells for $11,000. It works. It has good tech. Volkswagen cannot build a car for $11,000. They can barely build a golf cart for that price. In 2023, VW lost its title as the best-selling brand in China to BYD. That was their cash cow. Now the cow is dead, and it gets worse. In late 2024, Volkswagen announced the unthinkable. For the first time in its 87-year history, it is considering closing factories inside Germany. If VW falls, Wolfsburg becomes Detroit. Stuttgart becomes a Rust Belt. This is the price of arrogance. It is like being the best typewriter manufacturer in the world in 1995. You make a masterpiece, but everyone is buying a computer. And speaking of computers, wait until you see how Germany handles the internet. It makes the Flintstones look high-tech. If you think the car situation is bad, let me tell you about the internet. Imagine you are a software engineer. You land in Berlin, the supposedly coolest city in Europe. You get to your apartment and want to set up Wi-Fi. In South Korea, this takes 10 minutes. In Germany, it takes 6 weeks, and a technician has to come to your house between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. on a Tuesday. If you miss him, you start over. Germany is the only advanced economy where digitalization is treated like a futuristic concept rather than reality. This isn't a joke, it is a national embarrassment. During the COVID-19 pandemic, while other countries used apps to track infection rates, German health authorities were, and I am not making this up, sending infection numbers via fax machine. There were literally piles of paper accumulating in offices because the fax machines ran out of toner. The Robert Koch Institute, Germany's CDC, had to manually type data from paper faxes into Excel spreadsheets. In 2020, this is the country that invented the printing press, and apparently, they decided to stop innovating right there. This digital stone age is strangling the economy. Drive on the Autobahn, and your call will drop. Take a train, and the Wi-Fi is a myth. Germany ranks near the bottom of the civilized world for fiber optic coverage. While Silicon Valley is training AI models, German companies are paralyzed, trying to figure out if using Zoom violates privacy laws. You cannot build the next NVIDIA in a country where the internet feels like it is being delivered by a horse and carriage. But even if they fix the internet tomorrow, they have an even bigger problem. They are running out of Germans. This is the demography bomb. Germany has one of the oldest populations in the world. The baby boomers are retiring. They are walking out of the factories and the engineering firms, and nobody is walking in to replace them. By 2035, Germany will be short 7 million workers. That is not a typo. 7 million. Imagine a factory with 10 machines and only 5 people to run them. It doesn't matter how many orders you have, you cannot produce. We are already seeing restaurants closing on weekends and buses not running because there are no drivers. But wait, you say, why not just bring in immigrants? Great idea, they tried. But here is the harsh truth. Germany is not an attractive destination for top talent. Put yourself in the shoes of a brilliant Indian engineer. You have 2 options. Option A is the USA. You make $150,000, taxes are lower, and everyone speaks English. Option B is Germany. You earn $70,000. The government takes 42% of it in taxes to pay for the retirees, and you have to learn a notoriously difficult language just to fill out a tax form. The high-skilled workers aren't coming. Germany is trapped in a death spiral, a nursing home disguised as an economy. And to make matters worse, the government refuses to spend money to fix it. This brings us to the most uniquely German form of self-sabotage, the Black Zero. For 15 years, Germany became obsessed with the idea of a balanced budget at all costs. It sounds responsible, like a housewife managing her kitchen money. But for a national economy, it was disastrous. While the US and China were pouring concrete and building tech hubs, Germany was saving money by letting its bridges rot. The German railway, Deutsche Bahn, used to be the gold standard of punctuality. Now, it is a meme. 1/3 of long-distance trains are delayed because switches are broken and signals fail. They cut costs to make the balance sheet look pretty, and now the network is decaying. They are a rich country with a poor country's infrastructure, and just when they need to spend hundreds of billions to transition to green energy, they can't. But speaking of energy, if you thought the fax machine story was dumb, wait until you hear how they handled their power plants. It is arguably the stupidest policy decision since the Trojan horse. Now, let's talk about the most confusing part of this entire tragedy, the energy transition. On paper, the goal is noble. Save the planet, go green, stop climate change. But in practice, it looks more like a panic attack than a strategy. In April 2023, amidst the worst energy crisis in decades, while electricity prices were strangling the industry, Germany did something incredible. They shut down their last 3 nuclear power plants. These plants were safe, productive, and most importantly, carbon-free. They were printing clean energy. But because of a political decision driven by ideology and fear, the Green Party insisted on killing them. So, where does Germany get its power now when the wind isn't blowing and the sun isn't shining? Coal, specifically lignite. Lignite is brown coal. It is the dirtiest, wettest, most carbon-intensive fossil fuel you can burn. It is basically mud that burns. Picture this absurdity. German police were literally dragging Greta Thunberg away from a mud pit so that an energy giant could tear down wind turbines to dig up more dirty coal to replace the clean nuclear plants they just turned off. It is schizophrenia on a cosmic scale. Germany currently has some of the dirtiest electricity in Western Europe, while France runs on 70% nuclear and has some of the cleanest. And because of how the grid works, Germany often has to buy nuclear power from France just to keep the lights on. It looks like a vegan who secretly eats burgers in the parking lot. This scares away investors. If you are Intel or Tesla, you need cheap, reliable power. Germany offers expensive power that depends on the weather and the price of coal. Finally, we have to look at the map. Germany is a medium-sized country that behaves like a superpower because of its wallet. But that wallet depends entirely on globalization working perfectly. The German business model was, we are friends with everyone, we sell cars to China, we buy gas from Russia, and we let the Americans protect us with their military. Well, the party is over. The bouncers are turning on the lights. We already talked about Russia. That bridge is burned. But the bigger problem is China. For 15 years, German CEOs treated China as a gold mine. They built factories there and trained Chinese engineers. They thought the Chinese would just assemble their cars forever. They were wrong. China learned, China copied, and now China is better. Now Germany is caught in the middle of a new Cold War. The US is saying, pick a side. China is saying, if you sanction us, we stop buying your BMWs. Germany is terrified. They are an export-addicted nation, exporting nearly 50% of their GDP. They are a ship built for calm waters, sailing directly into a hurricane of tariffs and trade wars. So, where does this leave us? Imagine walking through that factory in the Ruhr Valley we talked about at the start. The machines are silent, the workers are gone. Maybe it has been turned into a museum of the 20th century, showing how cars used to be made. This isn't just doom-mongering. This is the trajectory. The fall of the German economic model is a systemic failure. They thought the gas would always flow. They thought the diesel engine was eternal. They thought they didn't need the internet. They thought they didn't need babies. Germany is a country that perfected the hardware of the past, but forgot to update the software for the future. Can they fix it? Maybe. Germans are resilient. But until they stop obsessing over balanced budgets and start investing in reality, the Made in Germany label, once a stamp of supreme quality, is in danger of becoming a best before date. And that date has passed. What do you think? Is this the end of Europe's powerhouse? Or will German engineering find a way out of this mess? If you enjoyed this deep dive, do me a favor, smash that like button. It helps the algorithm more than you know. And if you want to understand why China is winning the EV war while Germany sleeps, look out for our next video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.